Well, let's cross now to Washington, D.C. and talk to Geneive Abdo, the director of the Iran program at the Century Foundation. Thanks for joining us. What do we know about the fate of these two men?
Well, we don't have much information other than what your correspondent reported. There are reports coming out of Iran that they could have been taken to some sort of safe house. They've been removed from their houses, according to witnesses in Iran, and this, of course, is very dangerous.
Do we know what the government is planning to do there? Because they were under house arrest. Was the government planning to actually take them into custody?
Well, I think that the government has a problem because they don't want to create martyrs out of these two men, who of course are the great symbols of the Green Movement. Yet they also want to take them out of operation. The strategy now of the opposition in general in Iran is that they want to have, or they want to try at least, to have continuous, spontaneous protests. The last of which were called for by Mr. Moussavi and Mr. Karroubi. So they still have a lot of power to mobilize people onto the streets. And that's what the regime wants to try to prevent, on the one hand, while not making them martyrs on the other, because this, of course, will just arouse a lot more protests than we've seen in recent days. So I think that they want to make them irrelevant. Maybe they will disappear. Maybe we won't hear from them again. But I think at this point, they probably do not want to take them into custody. In a prison, at least.
Right. Is the government's strategy to paint the Green Movement as a more radical group, to try and blur the line between the Green Movement and, say, organizations like the People's Mujahideen of Iran, the MKO?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, this is what the Interior Minister stated on state television last week. He took this whole sort of connection to a new level, saying that, in fact, that the leaders of the Green Movement were part of the MKO. And this, of course, is not true. But you also have a situation where the MKO in the West, in Europe, in the United States, is also trying to make the connection for themselves that they're part of the Green Movement, which is not correct. So I think that what's happening in Iran, why it's dangerous for the leaders of the Green Movement, is that historically, as we know, the MKO has been a severe enemy of the regime, and people who have been accused of being connected to the MKO have been executed. I mean, that's the penalty for sedition. So I think that we're reaching a very different and new phase, and it's quite serious that these leaders are being tied to the MKO.
Okay, ma'am, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.